Welcome, everyone. I'm Kimberly Bushman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive podcast. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the individual life path forecast for the new moon solar eclipse that's happening on October 14th or 15th, depending on where you live within the world. So we have officially entered eclipse season. So this is big energy. And now with these eclipses, we have an eclipse on the 14th, 15th, obviously, the new moon solar eclipse that we'll be talking about today. And then at the end of the month, I believe on the 29th, we have a lunar eclipse. So we'll talk about that as it gets closer. But these eclipses are big energy. And so this new moon eclipse could be bringing in a new storyline that we'll be working with for the next 6 months, next year, or for the next 18 months. And the eclipse at the end of the month, which we'll go into more detail about as it gets closer, has a likelihood to potentially close something out, close out a cycle we've been moving through for the last 6 months or a year or 18 months. And so you'll know as it pertains to your own storyline, sort of how it's affecting you, how it's coming in. But this new moon solar eclipse, again, has the potential to sort of unfold over the next 6 months or up to a year, potentially. And so pay attention to what comes in for you. Now, you may not see it come to full fruition or hit you like a lightning bolt on the day of. However, you can kind of come back to this reading potentially and see it as what was initiated, what was something that came in sort of as an understanding that, okay, this is the storyline. This is the seed that the story is going to be planted around. Because you'll have some kind of indication. It's very likely that you'll have some kind of indication as far as what this storyline is going to be about. So again, it's going to be an unfolding. So be patient with yourself as you move through it. Be open to what and who comes in for you over the coming months, because it's all going to be relevant and it's all going to play into a bigger storyline. So without further ado, let's take a look. Life Path 5. So for you all, you're working with the energy of the 9 and the energy of the 1 for this eclipse. And that's really an interesting dynamic. And I want to talk about that in a moment. But you're also working with the animal wisdom message from the puffin. And it's interesting because someone in the last reading got puffin, and I'm not sure if it was 5, but it kind of feels like it was. So if it was, puffin is back again. All right, so the puffin actually works really beautiful with these energies. So with puffin energy, this is sort of like the Fool energy in tarot. It's like this childlike wonder, this, just easily to trust others, easily to trust self, this feeling of, uninhibited freedom, which is so up Five's alley, right? But it's like this taking a risk and doing something fresh and new and exciting, and doing so where you're not feeling overly restricted, but you have like the world is your oyster, so to speak, or the world is a clean canvas and you get to paint whatever you want to paint on it type thing. That's sort of the energy that's coming through with puffin. And so it's like this new opportunity to see things from a different perspective or to do something different, but fresh and new and exciting. So the energy here with puffin is saying, embrace that, right? And I don't think that that's going to be difficult for fives, right? Like 5 energy, that is your energy, is like the Fool energy, right? Where it's kind of like, all right, what's next? Big, new, and exciting. Let's do it. Let's experience it. Let's try it. Let's create. Let's, think progressively. Let's do things unconventionally. Let's be ahead of our time type thing. And so the Fool energy or puffin energy coming through is really giving you permission to do that at this new moon, the solar eclipse. And so with the 9 energy, there's something here that wants to close out, be released, transformed, so that you can step into the 1 energy. Because remember, you're working with 9 and 1 energy around this new moon, new initiations, new starts, solar eclipse. So there's something that needs to be eclipsed out, but then it's the sun. So there's something that is vibrant and, your essence and your vitality that wants to come forth in a new mission, a new adventure. And so I do kind of see, probably for the next few months at least, that you're going to be in some kind of like transition, some kind of transformation, but really it feels like a transition. You're moving from something closing out to something fresh, new, exciting, a new adventure. So almost like if you're reading a book, you're closing one chapter out and you're starting the next chapter, or you're finishing that book and you're starting another book. But this has the potential to be a really exciting coming 6 months, or year, depending how it shows up for you. But the key here is fives. You have to take the initiative. You have to show up and focus to close out whatever it is that's being asked to be closed out. And that can be around relationships, career, a project, something maybe that you've been procrastinating on for whatever reason. But this is the time to release whatever that is, to let go of whatever that is and clear it from your plate so that you can have this new one experience and puff in energy, right? So it's almost like this, whatever this 9 energy is bringing forth is not necessarily going to close out for you. Like you have to say yes to it closing out type thing. And I'm just thinking of like a relationship that's sort of run its course. Maybe you're staying in that relationship because you don't want to have the conversation or whatever the case may be. And maybe it's a business relationship and it would be a big headache to have to close everything out that would need closing out if you dissolve that situation, right? But the new fresh puffin energy and the energy of the one and what really wants to come in can't come in if your plate is heaped full of stuff that you don't even want anymore, or that's not serving you, or that's not like helping you to move forward. And this could also be around like belief systems or, like things that are holding you back that really just need to be worked with, dealt with, and released and transmuted. That could be very likely as well. But there's definitely this sort of teetering, right, between this 9 energy of things coming to completion, closing out, and moving, being released, right? And this 1 energy of big new starts, big fresh new ideas, initiating something. And you can literally see it in this new moon solar eclipse, right? The sun being eclipsed out, something closing out, but then coming back full force, right? 1 energy. So, how it shows up for you will be whatever in your life needs to be eclipsed out, whatever it is that's reached its expiration date. But you're going to have to be the one that focuses your energy. Don't procrastinate. Make sure you get that tied up, cleaned out, whatever the case may be, so that you're ready and have the energy and the capacity to dedicate yourself to this new big adventure, this new big thing, or this new relationship, or whatever it may be. Definitely something with that coming through. And also trusting yourself and trusting others, right? There's a lot here with trust, with puffin energy as well. And with that, I would tie it back to the 1. There's something here that you're probably going to be asked to take a risk on. And again, I don't necessarily, unless you're a 5 who's strong into the shadow side of restriction, right? And that's normal for a 5 to move through, where they go through a period of over restriction, right? Overly restricted. If you're in that sort of energy, then it can be difficult to take a risk because you don't trust yourself or the universe or others, right? And that's okay, but this may be a time where you have to move through that and figure it out. Because with the 1 energy and then puffin energy coming through and it being a new moon, there's something here where you potentially are going to have to take a risk and not really know how it's going to work out, but just trust that it's going to work out the way that it needs to or the way that's in the best interest of all involved. But you're going to be at the helm of that ship and you're the one that's going to have to say yes, or whatever the case may be. You're the one that's going to have to kind of like make that executive decision with whatever this is. And that can be daunting, but that's what's going to bring the greatest results. That's what's going to bring the greatest experiences. And so you're definitely meant to say yes to whatever it is, especially if it's, well, I wouldn't say especially, I would say if it feels aligned, if it sparks your interest. Now, again, for a lot of 5s, that's something that you really thrive at, right? Is taking a risk and, diving into the unknown and seeing what presents itself and then figuring out how to work with it. Fives work really, really well in chaotic, like crisis situations. They're just very equipped to do that. And I'm not saying that this is going to be a crisis situation. I'm just saying there may be something where you have to make a decision and you might not feel ready to just yet, but that's what's going to open the door over the next 6 months to a year to some really potentially life-altering, big, just grand experiences, big adventures potentially. It really does feel like a clean slate. Like you're moving again, like you're in like this transition from closing things out, and there's some ambiguity maybe, there might be a period of that where you're like, okay, now what? I'm confused. I'm just sitting here. But I don't think that's going to last very long. And then the next wave is going to come in. So you have to be ready for that wave so you can ride it. Beautiful energy, right? For fives. I really love this. I feel like this is right up your alley. Your biggest hurdle, I think, especially if you're like pretty aligned with the five energy, is going to be really focusing your energy into completing and following through to completion, whatever it is that needs to be completed. Because sometimes it can be easy to procrastinate or to want to just focus on the new exciting thing. And, it can't really work that way. So make sure you're investing your energy, at least in the beginning, towards closing out those things that just aren't serving you anymore, have hit their expiration date, et cetera, et cetera. Because then I think you're in for a pretty fun ride over the next few months. So exciting stuff. So I hope it's a great one. Take care, fives. Bye for now.